Thank you very much, Jonathan, and good morning, everybody. I'm really pleased to be able to welcome you all, our key tax and customs stakeholders here today at our annual conference, and to once again be doing it face-to-face. We did try during the pandemic one face-to-face event in Stratford, but it was quite odd. It was like being in an exam hall, I seem to remember. All the members of HMRC's Executive Committee really appreciate your spending your day with us today, particularly as we know how busy you all are. While HMRC is responsible for running the UK's tax and customs service, we're acutely conscious that we're only one actor. We're stewards of a much wider ecosystem of people who play a part in making the UK's tax and customs regime work. That ecosystem is represented by all of us in the room today, which is why it's essential that we all work together effectively and learn from one another, and that's really what today is all about. Inevitably, I'm going to talk to you this morning about some of the things going on in HMRC, but I don't want today to be all about us telling you how things look from our perspective or offering lots of updates on what we are going to deliver in the future. I also don't want to tell you that the next few years are going to be a walk in the park or smooth sailing. I'm sure you wouldn't believe me if I said that. So I'm very keen that we involve you and engage you in our work. And I've seen some good examples of that in recent years. And the challenge is to do more of this in the future and make it our default way of doing business in HMRC. And the importance of working together was one of the key lessons from what we all achieved together to support businesses and workers during the pandemic. I know we've got much more to do together. For example, we've committed to working more closely with those of you in the software industry as we develop our digital solutions, and so the aim of today is really to deepen our relationships. At HMRC, we have a vital role to play in collecting the money that pays for the nation's public services and enabling economic growth. But it's just a nonsense to think that HMRC can do this on our own. I know that many of the challenges that we face, like how to protect the exchequer and our customers from bad actors, for example, are also shared by professional bodies who work to uphold good professional standards. And it's why one of today's workshops is about how HMRC and intermediaries can collaborate to create a more healthy tax system, and why today is all about working to create solutions together to some of the big challenges that we all face across the whole of the tax and customs system. Now, we can't start today without talking about the overall context in which we're operating. And a lot has happened over the last few years that has impacted on the tax and customs system. Brexit, the pandemic, and more recently the cost of living crisis in particular. And I'm proud of what we've been able to achieve together, both as a department and as that ecosystem during that period. Not just how quickly we responded to the pandemic with financial support schemes, but also the role we've played in providing cost of living payments to those who need them, and also the way we've kept delivering our core role at the same time as doing all of that, and while facing the same challenges and pressures that all other organisations have been and still are experiencing. In 2021-22, we collected an unprecedented £731 billion. And the latest estimate for the tax gap in 2020-2021 suggests that we continued to keep it low. And I know that the advice and guidance that you and your members provided to clients undoubtedly played a vital role in this, and I'd like to thank you for that. It's also been positive to see that our compliance yield performance has improved this year as we have recruited and trained more staff in compliance roles and as we've returned to our normal ways of working. And that all helps to keep the tax gap low. So far in this financial year, our overall compliance yield is higher than at the same point last year, suggesting that we're on course to secure more compliance yield in 22-23 than in either of the previous 2 years. And the National Audit Office doesn't often do this, but it recognised in its report published in December that our compliance work offers good value for money for the UK taxpayer, returning on average £18 for every pound we spend. We're committed to our charter and we want to help customers to get it right. So we're focused on making it as easy as possible to do the right thing and harder to make mistakes. The vast majority of our customers already pay their tax automatically, for example through Pay-As-You-Earn, or deal with their tax and payment affairs through our digital services without needing to contact us. I'm pleased to say that at the 31st of January, more than 97% of self-assessment returns had been submitted on time, and more than 96% of those submitted online. That's a record 11.7 million customers who filed on time, mostly online. And it is really reassuring after 2 years where we had to have a period of grace for the self-assessment peak that we're seeing that filing compliance really not just back to normal but higher than it's been in the past. And for those customers who engage with us through our digital services, customer satisfaction during that period was high, at more than 80% in 22-23 so far. The shift towards digital, for example, through our HMRC mobile app, which has already had nearly 40 million logins in this financial year, including me doing my self-assessment return in it for the first time, they're vital to show how we will operate the tax system in the future. And you'll hear shortly from Angela MacDonald, our second Permanent Secretary and Deputy Chief Executive, about the importance of our digital services and the impact that they're already having. So all of this, I feel, is really encouraging. But it would be wrong of me not to point out the challenges that we're facing on a more immediate level. Our current service performance is below the levels we aspire to deliver. Services have been improving throughout the year and are getting closer and closer to our service standards, but a number of factors have significantly affected our ability to meet customer demand for our services, and with some hotspots within that. And I know that that has caused a real inconvenience for agents and for customers, for which I apologise. We want to improve our customer service levels, but in a world of limited and falling real-term budgets, that is going to be challenging. Realistically, to do this, we need even more of our customers using digital services and self-serving online so that we can be available to deal with those who need our help the most. We know, for example, that in September 2022, around 1.5 million people phoned us for services that they could have accessed more quickly online. And we estimate that around 65% of the calls to the self-assessment helpline during the run-up to this year's self-assessment peak related to matters that customers could have resolved themselves through our digital channels. So this is crucially important because the number of income tax customers actually grew from 31 million in 2015-16 to 34 million in 2022-23, while higher rate taxpayers have increased by 22% over that same period, and they're expected to grow further. So this means more customers requiring active management in the tax system, and our colleagues who deal with phone calls and post increasingly having to deal with longer and more complex queries. At the same time, we're all aware of the pressures on government spending. Every pound we spend needs to deliver value for money. Within HMRC, we'd always planned to use digital technology to become more efficient and to reduce our staffing levels by the end of the current spending review period. But now we also need to manage the additional pressure of absorbing higher inflation within our existing budgets. So it's vital that we reduce the need for customers to contact us by simplifying customer journeys, by improving our guidance, and by removing the causes of unnecessary contact. That will require action to nudge our customers into digital ways of dealing with us. And we will need your help in managing how we encourage the take-up of our digital channels. Of course, moving to digital delivery is also an opportunity at the same time to improve the customer experience. This is about making it easier for citizens and small businesses to get things right first time and find the support they need through new and improved online services, just as they're doing for banking and other services. And the same applies to agents and to larger businesses too. During 2023, we'll be bringing together our digital services under a consistent brand and providing an improved digital experience through a new account designed around taxpayer tasks and needs. And we will add new digital features and services regularly to improve the customer experience. For example, moving child benefit online, making it easier for customers to change their personal details or request national insurance numbers. And to give you one recent example, so we've recently put a self-serve time to pay online for self-assessment customers, and in January over 95,000 customers used that self-service service. So that means 95,000 customers who didn't have to ring the debt management helpline to set that up, which meant that my debt management colleagues had more time to spend helping customers who really needed to speak to someone. So Angela is going to talk in more detail about some of the ways in which we aim to do this and the role that we think you have to play in a session shortly. Another crucial foundation stone for successfully transforming tax for our customers is simplification. And that's now a core priority for us and for the Treasury. And we're running a special session focused on it today. And I know from my Twitter feed, and I think Jonathan from his Twitter feed, that you're not holding back with your ideas for what that simplification would be. And please do keep the ideas coming. We recognise that tax and customs system is complex, and there are many reasons for this. The economy itself is complex, and the tax system has to accommodate that as well as achieving multiple objectives, not just collecting revenues, but providing fairness and delivering the government's policy objectives with incentives for saving and for economic growth, all while limiting compliance costs for citizens and for businesses. But complexity means that taxpayers make mistakes, and they can struggle to make the right choices, increasing the risk of non-compliance. It means we have to expend more resources to ensure compliance, and it makes it more difficult for us to change policies and processes without unintended consequences. So to simplify the tax system, we have to start outside in, from the taxpayer's perspective, understanding their circumstances and how they interact with different systems. Just under 6 million people make up our small business customer group. And our own research tells us that they don't always feel supported, and that's understandable. Simplifying tax for those groups is vital for them, and vital for us too in terms of improving compliance and keeping our costs low. And it also supports the wider potential of the UK economy itself. It therefore has to be a joint project between us and you to identify the pain points, challenge ingrained problems, and find solutions to them, whether that's through better targeted guidance, better digital services, or making changes to simplify the rules themselves. And I'm keen that we start working together on this with you today. Over the past few years, we've already seen the positive impact of working together with industry stakeholders and across government to deliver changes to the customs system. The end of the EU transition period gave the UK back control of our customs policy. This gives us the opportunity to support a transformation in how the UK border operates and facilitate trade in order to deliver economic growth. And we have a proven track record in successful delivery in this area through the effective introduction of new customs controls and systems. We have, for example, been supporting traders in the move to making their import declarations on the new Customs Declaration Service since the 1st of October. And that's a key part of the government's plans to establish a world-leading, fully digitalised border that will help UK businesses to trade and prosper. And by the middle of January, over 23 million import declarations had been made on CDS, with 98% of all import declarations now being completed through that service. And a number of you here today have, with thanks, been instrumental in making that happen, by providing valued advice on what traders needed. And we're now focused on helping the UK's exporters make the move to CDS by the 30th of November this year. And we want this also to be very much a case of us working together to achieve that. We know it's been an intense period of change in customs over the past few years. We know that change is most successful when the solutions are co-designed between government, traders and the border industry, which is why working in partnership with the border industry and users of the border to design, deliver and innovate around the border forms a key pillar of the UK government's 2025 border strategy. And you'll be able to find out more about this and our objectives for the customs system and how the range of ongoing initiatives, including the future target operating model for the border, fits into this work in one of today's breakout groups. I'd like to finish with a few words on tax and customs agents and other intermediaries who play a significant role in creating a healthy tax and customs system and who perform a diverse variety of functions. While we don't always agree with each other, we do have a shared purpose in helping citizens and businesses to comply with their obligations and receive their entitlements. And I recognise that HMRC hasn't always acknowledged the value that these partners add or taken a holistic and consistent approach to working in partnership. When agents and intermediaries work well in the tax and customs system, it creates value for the system itself and also for our customers. But when things don't work well, the reverse is true, and the negative effects can be very significant for all involved. That's why harnessing added value from agents and intermediaries forms a core element of our 10-year tax administration strategy. And as part of that strategy, we want to strengthen the intermediaries' ecosystem to create a healthy tax and customs system. We'll do this by raising standards in the tax advice market and by improving our agent services so that we encourage intermediaries that add value, reduce costs for our customers and for us, and have a positive impact on compliance. We'll also be doing more to tackle poor practice, especially when it has a negative impact on compliance or our customers' experience of the tax and customs system. And finally, we want to increase the effectiveness of intermediaries by providing you with the best possible guidance, support and services so that you can support your clients effectively. In conclusion, I can't deny that there are some serious challenges ahead, but I also really believe that everyone here today has a part to play in finding solutions to them. I'll hand over to Angela shortly, who will take you through more on our digital ambitions and the role we all have to play in this space. But before I do, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you all once again for being here with us today. Please use the workshops to let us know what you think about these issues and how we can work together better to find solutions so that the tax, trade and duties environment delivers better for you, better for your clients, and better for the country as a whole. So I'd like to thank you all for coming here today, and I hope you find today's gathering very informative, enjoyable, and time well spent. Now, Angela.
So, as Jim said, we're taking a little bit of a different approach today and really focusing on some in-depth discussions on topics which we know you have shared with us about things which are important to how the tax system runs. And it is really important because this is your tax service, and you'll have noticed some of the branding that we talk about out loud. The tax service that we run enables the UK economy to thrive if we do it really well. And it is your tax service as taxpayers, as citizens of the UK, as well as your tax service as the people who vitally come together to make sure that everything works as it should. So, picking up on where Jim left off, I'd really like to start by reflecting on the changing nature of business, both globally and in the UK, and also the changing expectations of our customers. Technology really is revolutionising how we all live our lives, and the integration of real-time technology into even the smallest and most local of transactions shows that sophisticated and end-to-end technology is no longer the purview of large businesses with really deep pockets. As the tax authority, we must respond to this trend and meet our customers' expectations. But we also must take the advantage of the opportunities that data and technology really does give us for better compliance, for faster and more assured payments, plus reducing the costs to the UK taxpayer of running the tax system. Now, these shifts in expectations, they are impacting you also. The need to change your operating models and ensure that your services meet the needs of tomorrow, not a tax model of yesterday, mean that disruption within the tax ecosystem is as material for all of you, as well as us, as well as the citizen, those that we serve. So how do we tackle the shift? Do we work to lead the way by mandating changes that impact how businesses manage their finances? Or do we follow fast, responding to technology and working out how to utilise it? Well, we think that it has to be both. Using Making Tax Digital software is now the norm for how our VAT customers file their returns, with the vast majority of businesses signed up and filing using for their VAT. Now, this change in government policy drove investments in the software market. It supported moving businesses to digital record keeping. And independent evidence shows that using Making Tax Digital compatible software is reducing avoidable errors on our returns and making it quicker and easier for businesses to manage their tax affairs. But not only that, fewer mistakes also mean that Making Tax Digital for VAT is predicted to deliver an additional revenue of over £2 billion by 2026. That's extra money that helps to keep the country running and provides essential funding for schools, hospitals and other services. And let's be clear, that is why this tax system exists. We collect the money that runs the services that support the UK and our obligations overseas. But that transition was very challenging, not just actually for some of our customers, but also for the tax agent community, many of whom also had to change their operational models to accommodate this shift to digital. And we do not underestimate the impact that those changes have. Similarly, and as Jim mentioned, this isn't just about inland taxes, thinking about our role at the border, we've been supporting traders to make import declarations on that new Customs Declaration Service, CDS, reaching that important milestone on the 1st of October last year. And to give you kind of some sense of scale of what's moving through here, 23 million import declarations have been made on CDS, 98% of all of those going through CDS rather than Chief, which was a very old and often much loved system. You never realise how much loved the old systems are, although they're often complained about until you attempt to take them off somebody. So CDS is a key part of the government's plans to establish that world-leading, fully digitised border. And it really is important to do that because our role, we sit as part of a global environment, our activity, how easy we make it to import and export for businesses of the UK are a fundamental part of growth. And what we need to make sure is that the administration of those processes is secure, protects revenue, but also enables businesses to do what they need to do. Now, both of these examples show that when government makes a choice to fundamentally alter a system, actually it isn't just a change for HMRC, it's actually a change for a much broader ecosystem. Thinking also about how we follow fast and keep pace with those customer expectations. I am still trying to work out whether ChatGPT can start writing policy papers, but I think Jonathan's job is probably safe for a while yet. So the majority of our customers, though, do now communicate with us digitally, and they absolutely expect to do so. And in many instances, they're very surprised where we don't or can't. I should imagine that's also an experience for you also. Those customers who do use our digital services give us very high ratings. And again, to give you a sense of scale, we were accessed 105 million times in 2021, and that compared to 51 million times in 2016. Now, that's a really big shift. But actually, if you think about your own habits, in that same time frame, we've all gone from walking into a bank branch to do our banking to carrying our entire financial assets around on our phone. So actually, there is a massive shift, and we expect that the level of opportunity and the requirement, that's a 5-year timescale, those timescales are going to get shorter and shorter and shorter as technology moves, and there is an opportunity for us to move forward. There are 20 million users of our online accounts, and Jim is not alone of being an HMRC app user. There are 1.5 million customers who have the HMRC app. I am very hoping that if you don't already have that on your mobile phone, that you will not leave today without having access to a suitable app store and downloaded the very magnificent app. Now, to continue on our trajectory and to deliver the services that we set out in the Charter, we simply have to empower more customers to resolve simple and straightforward issues without finding the need to call or write to us. And Jim has explained there are a number of push and pull factors here. We are aiming to meet the needs and expectations of our customers, but also there is a financial circumstance too. The status quo is not an option, and at a time of economic constraint, the taxpayer rightly expects us to be careful with their hard-earned money. I cannot go to Treasury Ministers to ask for additional HMRC funding to cover us for those customers who simply prefer not to go digital. This money is far better spent on other government services. Now, of course, it does remain incredibly important for us to have human-based support for those who need it most. We must ensure that those who are able to go digital do so, enabling us to improve the analogue services that we offer to that minority. And you are going to start to see HMRC push much more firmly at the role of the digital channels to those who we believe are capable of self-serving. Now, we completely recognise that for us to be able to do that, the quality of those digital interactions has got to improve in some places. We cannot move people to a digital service which is not capable of fulfilling the needs of the customer or indeed the needs of the agent community. So we are making progress, but we want to go further, making it easier for individual taxpayers and small businesses to get things right first time and find the support that they need through new and improved online services. Improved online accounts, whether accessed via that very magnificent HMRC app that you're all going to download by lunchtime, or online, will provide our customers with simple, secure and personalised online space where they can see all the information and tell us about their changes of circumstance. We're going to continue to build through this foundation in 2023, adding new features. There isn't going to be a sort of a date at which there is going to be a grand reveal. We are going to be regularly iterating, adding experiences, taking feedback from things that work, taking feedback on things that don't, and improving, which is actually what you would expect from any agile delivery in any kind of online digital offer. Now, we recognise that software providers and professional tax agents play an absolutely vital role in this shift. We know we need to improve the access of agents to our systems. We must make it easier for a full end-to-end integration between tax professionals, software and HMRC. Now, HMRC has a very long and challenging IT legacy. It does make it very difficult as we seek to modernise. But we are making big investments in tackling and driving how our data architecture works to ensure that we are sat in a modern cloud-based, secure technology environment, which not only helps us to manage the tax system from our perspective, but also makes that integration into the outside world something more effective and more fully digital. Some of the workshops that you will have the opportunity to share with us today aim to explore with you the challenges that we're going to face as we continue into this shift. We need to understand how well we navigate this, not just as HMRC, but as I said earlier, recognising that this shift has impacts on you, on your businesses, on your organisations, and the way that you also participate in the tax ecosystem. It is really important that we pay attention to that, as well as really working hard for that end taxpayer to make sure that they know what they need to do. Now, we already have had a number of successful deliveries, but we've also had some good learning opportunities. There are things where we could have done better, and there's no point in hiding from that. We have learned from MTD for VAT that digital record keeping and more regular filing is a very far-reaching change. We're applying that learning to our next intervention on making tax digital for income tax and self-assessment. We propose to ministers that we must phase in this change from 2026 to give us proper time to migrate our customers and our IT systems. I recognise that for a number of you, what you see is that particular external piece of the move. But internally to HMRC, we will also be re-platforming the entire of this customer base. And I'm sure for those of you who have gone through a similar thing, you don't overestimate the real challenge that is. So we proposed to ministers that we would phase in the change. And I need to be clear, though, that that phased introduction is definitely not about kicking the can down the road. 2026 is the point of legal mandation, and customers and their agents must shift their operating models well before then in order to be able to deliver for us all at that point. But of course we recognise that HMRC must ensure that you have the timely delivery of technology to enable you all to participate in that very big shift. And we are absolutely committed to ensuring that that is what we do. As we know, technology really can, and does when done well, take the friction out of our daily lives, whether that's the smallest transaction of booking your cinema tickets or the most large and complex transactions around the management of your businesses and the management of tax. We really do believe that this is a great opportunity for businesses. It's not a bump in the road. Tax compliance must be integrated in how do you run your business, and really technology enables us to really support those end businesses to do it. So the question I think we all face together is, how do we adapt to the new world? How do we take advantage of that opportunity? Not should we adapt and should we move forward. Now, another vital function which is really important to moving us forward is that our customers are well represented. We all know that the majority of our agents offer excellent and professional services, but sadly that is not universally true. The bad actors who sell avoidance schemes, who give poor quality advice, who target customers through online adverts whilst purporting to be HMRC, those impact on the reputation and confidence of the citizen in our tax service. We need to weed out those few bad agents, and we've made a good start on that with our consultation paper for raising standards in tax advice. And the dominant theme of the responses we have received was centred around the need to improve transparency, to think about standards overall, and to strengthen taxpayer protection. Following that consultation, we set out an set of updated standards, incorporating greater transparency requirements, and we've also removed the requirement to assign a percentage of future tax repayments indefinitely. This removal of assignments was a major step. We want to give taxpayers a much better understanding of and control over exactly what they are signing up to. And for me, this is really about a more level playing field, setting and establishing a benchmark that we expect all agents to adhere to. I'd especially like to publicly acknowledge the support and constructive challenge provided here by Victoria Todd and the Littrig team, who they are here today, and they have been really very positive in supporting us through this vital work. Now, these interventions are not about making us a self-appointed regulator, as perhaps some have suggested, but we believe it's important for the reputation and trust in the tax system that we intervene to tip the balance back in favour of the taxpayer, making sure that our customer protection commitment is incredibly important, and I am sure and I understand incredibly important to all of you also. So, in closing, I really do hope that you are going to believe that today is a very important and valuable use of your time. As Jim said, we are very grateful and don't underestimate the amount of time and effort it takes for you to come and spend time with us here in this wonderful Queen Elizabeth Conference Centre. Now, we share many of the same goals. We're building on a long history of mutual areas of interest, and I know that we are ambitious and believe that there are many things that we can do together to support businesses, to support the economy, and to make sure that what we have is a thriving economic environment. We believe that the only way we're going to move forward is to solve some of those knotty challenges together. So it isn't about let's talk about only jam tomorrow. We recognise that whilst all of that transformation is happening, there are a number of things that we must tackle today. But I also hope that what Jim has been clear around is that we sit within a very complex context, and that what HMRC is committed to doing is making the most of the services and trying very hard on what we've got today, whilst also being ambitious for what comes next. So let's talk today about how we continue to ensure that professional advice, that the strong use of data, that effective digital enablers, that between us we're able to add that value to the UK economy and make sure that the UK citizen experiences a modern and trusted tax and customs service. Thank you very much.